Quasi here, and in this video, I want to talk to you about the most powerful way to reduce importance and remove identification once and for all, so you can walk through life literally untouched and manifest whatever it is that you want. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that I'm doing a free giveaway of my book, Life Mastery. If you want to enroll into a competition to win this book for completely free, just comment Life Mastery down below. And at the end of the week, we're going to be picking one lucky winner. Actually, this week's special, we're going to be picking 3 lucky winners. So make sure you comment on every single video from this point on. So tomorrow on Friday, we're going to be announcing 3 lucky winners. So just comment Life Mastery down below. And because I hit 10K subscribers on YouTube, thanks to you guys, we're going to be doing 3 lucky winners instead of 1 this week. So make sure you comment Life Mastery down below for a chance to win. Also, I'm super excited to announce that the free one-to-one consult for the Reality Mastery program is open. And if you want to understand how you can get this free consult, just wait till the end of the video for the announcement on that. And with that, let's get started with this video. Now, in this video, I want to talk to you about removing identification. And you might have seen a lot of videos about this. You might have even heard about this in a lot of spiritual Eastern traditions. And you might even understand that removing attachment is very, very key. You must always work to remove attachment. But, I always looked and learned about it, but I never really understood how it could help me in manifestation. Now, what I started to really understand when I started going deeper and deeper into it is that which is material is temporary. So if you really think about a pendulum going down, the source of the pendulum always stays still, but the edge of the pendulum always moves from side to side. So the arc or the circumference that it creates with the bottom of the pendulum, that point is very, very temporary. It's always subject to change. But the source where it's rooted, that never moves. So what happens is energy, it gets grosser and grosser, more and more material as you come out towards the edge and the circumference. And as a result of that happening, this becomes more and more material, grosser and grosser forms. So this is why it's subject to change. And as you get higher and higher to the root of the pendulum, let's say the pendulum is swinging from here, the root of this pendulum is very, very subtle in form. It's so subtle that some of the principles, they aren't even visible to you yet. You're not able to see it, but rather feel it and almost get a whiff of it, but never really observe it. It's kind of like, when you observe an electron, the position of it changes. By the time you've observed it, it's not there. You can just observe a probabilistic space of where it can be contained. I think this is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, but I'm not too fresh on my quantum physics. But really look into that. You can never observe an electron's position and its velocity at the same time, or something of the sort. But anyway, going back to this, you'll observe that which is material is very, very temporary. Anything in life that you see and you can really observe, it's temporary. This is the material. So how the mind and the body came to be was initially there was nothing. This nothingness evolved into awareness. The awareness evolved into energy, and the energy evolved into the mind, and then the mind evolved into the body. So the mind and the body are very, very material. Even energy at a certain form is material, but as you go higher and higher into awareness and nothingness, then it becomes very, very subtle. Like, really think to yourself if you can even describe nothingness. You can't. Because if you try to even define nothingness, you're making it a somethingness, right? So it no longer is nothingness. Nothingness can just be experienced. When you remove all the conditioning, all the material, then nothingness is just natural, right? So really understand that material is temporary. And when you get identified to that which is temporary, you're naturally going to ride the highs and lows because you're going to be experiencing this, changing nature of the temporary. So when you become too identified with life and the temporary nature of life, you inevitably experience highs and lows. When your life is going well, you get identified with it. And when it doesn't go well, then you're like, oh shit. Because now you're too identified with that and you become that. Whatever you get too identified with, you become. So if you really think about this, when you become too identified with your thoughts, then you become the thoughts, you become the mind. When you get too identified with how you feel, then you become the body. So if your feelings change, then this causes a depletion in your state. If your thoughts change and you get thoughts that you don't necessarily like because you're identified with a certain different thought. Let's say you get identified with good thoughts, that you're having good thoughts, and then all of a sudden a fearful thought comes in and you get curious, like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? You place too much importance on that. By placing too much importance on it, you're becoming identified with it. So when you become identified with that, now this change in this good state and the bad thought, this kind of creates a confusion, a state of confusion in you. And because of this confusion, you're no longer able to see, clearly what's going on. So you become too identified with it, and it makes you feel a certain other way. So it also changes your feeling state. So this is how you're riding the highs and lows of life. When you become too identified with anything that you own, when someone takes it away, it causes a depletion in your state. If you own a car and someone, steals your car tomorrow, what you call as mine right now, it's just an extension of yourself. My car becomes an extension of me. So if you have really watched Harry Potter and you know the evil villain Voldemort, you'll understand this analogy. So essentially in Harry Potter, Voldemort is this villain who splits his soul up into 7 different what he calls as Horcruxes. And a Horcrux is basically an object where he keeps a piece of his soul. When Harry Potter and his friends destroy one of the Horcruxes, Voldemort gets weaker and weaker because he feels less and less of himself. This is exactly what's going on in our lives. What you call as my watch is becoming an extension of me. What you call as my shirt is becoming an extension of me. You're getting identified with your income level. You're getting identified with your social circle. Like, the type of person Quasi is, he associates with this kind of friend. And Quasi does this, Quasi makes this amount of money a month. You get too identified with it. When you become too identified with it, then the importance level goes up and then you start causing problems. You start causing resistances in the form of excess potential. If you don't know what excess potential is, click up here to check out a video that I made on excess potential, really explaining this concept. But it's not necessary to fully understand this here. But to really get a gist of this, this is when you, through attribution of excessive meaning by yourself, cause imbalances in nature. When you get too identified with something, life wants to show you its true nature through trying to destroy this identification. It's going to try its best to show you that this is temporary. Don't get identified with it. Identify with that which isn't temporary, that which is timeless. But even then, that's a fallacy because you can't identify with that. When you destroy identifications, then naturally all there is nothingness, right? So remember that whenever you get too identified with anything in life, you inevitably go through the period of highs and lows. When you get too identified, you're actually blocking yourself from manifesting things because now life is working against you. It wants to destroy identifications. And, the problem is that whenever we go through life, when we have these experiences in life, we get too tangled with these experiences. Now, if you get too tangled with the experiences that you're having in life, then there is no way you can influence life because you are being controlled by it. You're not controlling it. Whenever you can disentangle yourself from life, you can get a clear perspective. Like literally think about the last time you were too attached and too emotionally reactive to something. Do you think that if you're too emotionally reactive to something, you'll get a better result out of doing that? Or if you're just detached from it, you can get a clear perspective on what it is to do. This applies to life as well. When you get too attached, and I'm not talking about involvement, that's a completely different thing. You can get involved without attachment. People misunderstand this. You don't need attachment. Attachment is something that happens naturally and unconsciously. That's the problem. Whenever you're too unconscious, then anything you experience in life, it naturally becomes an attachment and you get entangled with it. And this is all a result of this unconscious conditioning we've been receiving and unconscious programming and just in general living every single day life in unconsciousness. So the problem is we're getting too entangled with any single experience we're having in our lives. Whenever we have a good experience, we're like, yay, good experience. And then when something bad happens, because life naturally takes the path of least resistance to get you to your goals. Even if you're visualizing doing the right things, it will always take the path of least resistance. So sometimes it'll appear to you that it isn't going my way, but it really is. This is just life's way of arranging things for you. You must understand this. This is absolutely crucial. Like you'll see that if you coordinate right, 1 to 2 years from now, maybe you reach your goal. But maybe it wasn't the easiest path of reaching your goal, but you see that this had to happen in order for me to get to this point. You'll see this actually happens. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about this. But for right now, really understand that when you get too entangled with life, then you don't become a controller. You don't become the master of your life. You become the slave to your life. The goal is to walk through life completely unentangled, completely disentangled, so you can play with life however you please and just be untouched by it. Now, these good experiences we like and the bad experiences we dislike. So when we create likes and dislikes, we're naturally getting identified with things. Just because you have a good experience doesn't mean you can't enjoy it and experience it fully. But liking it and disliking it is a completely different matter. This is what creates attachment and identification. So to really understand this and understand how you can remove all of these attachments and all of these importances so you can become the master of your own state and the master of your own reality, we're going to talk about 2 key realizations that I personally had, I personally help my clients have, and also I'm going to share with you right now. So key number 1 is to separate the experience from the attachment. So really let this sink in. What you must do is separate the experience that you're having from the attachment. Just because it happens right now doesn't mean it has to happen again and again and again. You just get too attached to it. It's kind of like, a cocaine-induced high. You're like, I need it. But you're not able to feel good within yourself, so you use that external experience to make you feel good. You're letting that external experience determine your internal state. You're not creating your reality from within, but from without. This is the scarcity mindset. When you create reality from without, you're really dabbling in the scarcity mindset and not in the abundance mindset. The abundance mindset is, I already feel good. And as a result of how I feel within, it's created. Really, really think about this. Okay? Really internalize this, experience this in your life. See, whenever you achieve something and you actually you were actually feeling good within, and it just came as a result of your good feeling. Key number 2 is to constantly remind yourself that what you call as yourself, is just a character. This is just a character in a film, and this is experiencing a temporary existence. Seriously, just remind yourself every single day that this is a character experiencing a temporary existence. When you start to view yourself as a character, naturally there's a separation between you and yourself. The whole purpose of meditation is to create distance between you and yourself, so you can connect with that which is timeless. When there is a distance, you no longer get identified with the material. You're no longer identified with the body. You're no longer identified with the mind. In ancient Hermeticism, there is this concept of the 3 planes, which is the spiritual plane, the mental plane, and the physical plane. When you stop getting identified with the mental and the physical planes, then you start to really control life through that highest plane of all, the spiritual plane. So when you detach yourself and you remove yourself from the character, then you're free to control the character in whatever way you please. And as a result of controlling the character, you can control the inanimate, which is really reality. Always remind yourself that this too shall pass. One of the most powerful ways that I was able to create detachment from any single experience in my life was to constantly remind myself of my mortality. If every single day, before you go to bed, you remind yourself, I could not wake up tomorrow morning. I could not be here tomorrow. Naturally, you get unattached to any single thing that's going on. How do you think a person who's on their last day would live life? Completely differently than someone who thinks they're going to live forever. As human beings, we can't really fathom our inexistence. We always take existence for granted. And as a result, we think, I'll just do it tomorrow. I need this, I need that to have a good existence, to survive. And that's why we can't get unattached from these things. And that's why attachment becomes a natural thing. But if you constantly remind yourself, this is a character, this too shall pass. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I might not be here tomorrow. This is the single most powerful way you can create unattachment from every single thing. Like at one point, I was so, detached from the experience that people started to think I was suicidal. But no, it's not about being suicidal, but rather about really fully realizing your mortality. And as a result, you naturally become unentangled from everything. So just to recap, that which is material is temporary. This doesn't mean you can't have nice things. Have nice things, but don't get attached to them. Enjoy them, experience them, consciously experience them. But also consciously enjoy not having them. You experience being hungry fully. When you don't have food, you experience that fully. When you do have food, you experience that fully as well. When you consciously choose to experience something and not unconsciously resist it, like, hungry, food, that's when you get free from all attachments. Experiencing naturally frees you from karma. And we talk about karma in many of the old videos. So if you don't know what karma is, click up here to understand in more detail, what this karmic substance is and how to really remove it. But essentially, karma is the only tie that keeps your etheric body and your physical body intact. It's kind of like a tie. And as you live, your prarabdha karma, which is the current allotment of karma, it slowly runs out. And as you get older, you naturally dissolve. And then the next cycle of karma kicks in. But less about that. That which is material is temporary. When you become too identified with life, naturally you ride the highs and lows. That's why you feel a depletion in your state, because you're living from a place of scarcity. You're living from without, not from within. You're creating reality from what you see outside, not from how you feel within and see that in your reality. This is a powerful principle called the mirror feedback loop. Click up here to check that video out. The biggest problem is when you're walking through life, you get too entangled with all of these attachments. And that's why you can't influence life the way you want it. This is the biggest block to manifestation. Getting too entangled with life and you can't influence it the way you want. When you can walk through life unentangled and untouched, only then you can play with life the way you please. Whenever we have good experiences, we like them. Yay, good experience is great. But then whenever there's a bad experience, we're like, oh no, dislike. Likes and dislikes create attachments. Experiencing does not. When you have a bad experience in life, you experience it. You experience it fully and consciously. This is an experience of life. This is a part of life. But this too shall pass. Whenever you have a good experience of life, this too shall pass. I remember I heard this quote a very long time ago, but it didn't make sense to me then. Because it's one thing to consciously run it in your head, but it's another thing to experientially experience it. It becomes experiential knowledge rather than just mental, intellectual knowledge. The two keys to really overcoming this identification, this attachment, are first of all, learn to separate the experience from the attachment. The only way you do that is to completely, fully, and consciously experience whatever it is you're going through right now. If you're going through a shitty period in your life, sit down and just experience it. If you're hungry, experience the hunger fully. Don't put it off. Don't put it away. Don't try to change the situation. Really, don't try to change the situation. Fully experience it. Or else it will be, dug deep within your unconscious mind. And next thing you know, it's showing up and expressing itself in other forms. If you don't experience it, it's going to express itself in forms that you might not even like. Finally, every single day, remind yourself that this is just a character and this is a temporary existence that this character is experiencing. This too shall pass. I might not be here tomorrow. My existence is as a mortal. And with that, I conclude this video, and I sincerely hope this helped. I hope this shed light on the importance of removing these identifications so you can walk through life completely unscathed and untouched. If you like this kind of content and you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. From this point forward, we're going to be doing videos every Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And also, I'm super duper excited to announce that I'm growing a massive Facebook group where I'll be sharing all of this kind of stuff, and we have a great group of great members. So if you're interested in transforming your life fully, make sure you click on the link below to join our Facebook group and take advantage of this like-minded community. Also, I'm super excited to announce that the Reality Mastery program is open for enrollment, and we're transitioning from the 1.0 to the 2.0 version right now, and it's going to be a big shift, and people are getting insane results, and you're probably seeing that on my Facebook and even on the YouTube post that I'm doing. So make sure you take advantage of this opportunity, sign up for your free one-to-one consult while it's still available, and let's see how we can transform your life. I saw that personally in my life, any single change that I had was not because I focused on that which was temporary, but that which was timeless. It wasn't because I focused on a gimmicky technique out there, but rather when I focused on the deeper principles of life, and in particular the principle of identity shifting. Whenever I worked on becoming the ideal version of myself, everything fell into place, almost on its own. I'm not even joking. Everything that I ever wanted. When I wanted, my dream partner, I shifted into my attractive version. When I wanted to become a, more confident version of myself, when I became the more confident version of myself, I experienced my social circle, having the kind of friends that I wanted. When I became the entrepreneur version of myself, I started to earn my dream income, quit my 9-to-5, took my passion full time. When countless other things have happened in my life. This was all a result of who I became, not what I did or what I wanted to take, but rather who I became within my very core. As within, so without. So make sure you take advantage of this opportunity. Sign up for the free one-to-one consult to see if you'll be a good fit, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Till next time, peace.